joining another episode of the Women in Tech podcast. I'm your host, Tisha Poncio, digital learning specialist at Wakelet, and it is my honor today to introduce you to one of the most influential women in educational technology, Dr. Desiree Alexander. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I am so excited. I love you on social media. I've listened to you present numerous times. I always feel full and happy, full of joy, full of happiness after you present. I know you and I have presented a couple of times together, I believe for Wakelet. And you also watch some really incredible TV shows. I hope we can get into that as we go. But I'm going to give our listeners just a quick bio about you because I think it's magnificent. So if you do not know Dr. Desiree, she's an award-winning multi-degreed educator who has been in the educational field since 2002. She's the founder and CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting LLC and the deputy director for the Associated Professional Educators of Louisiana. She consults with members of several schools and businesses and presents at conferences globally. She is always out there doing work to empower educators. And I just don't even know how you can't love that because we need to take care of our educators. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just going to get to it. Part of this Women in Tech podcast that we do, I love hearing the stories of how we got to where we are today. I think there's so much power in our stories. And as I've gotten older, I've realized the value in telling our story, owning our story. So what I would love for you to share with our audience right away is when you were young, what did you believe you would grow up to be? What problems did you believe you would solve? And how different or similar is it to what you're doing now?
Oh, good question. Well, I always wanted to be a teacher. I was that little kid who would play school, and my friends and cousins would indulge me and be my students until they didn't want to anymore. Then they would go out and play. But I was the one, my mom and dad would get me these workbooks. I don't even know if they make these things anymore, but they would have like a grade level in the corner, and they were really like school kind of workbook pages, but I love them. So just, I don't know. I look back at it like, really? But I always wanted to be a teacher, and I've had some amazing teachers along the way from my K-12 experience and of course my college experience. But I've always wanted to do that, to help others along their journey. So it's very similar to what I'm doing now. I don't think I ever thought about being a presenter. I don't think I ever thought about teaching teachers until I actually became a teacher. But I wanted to be in the classroom. So, and I wanted to just, more than like the content, I wanted to be a motivator for students. I wanted to be an inspiration. I wanted to kind of change their lives, if that makes sense. So that's where my fascination with education kind of started.
Sure. I feel like we have now I know we have a similar story because you wanted to become a motivator and sort of change those students' lives. Was there a teacher along the way that really inspired you to want to do that? Was there one teacher or two teachers that really stood out to you that really motivated you to keep going to be where you are today?
Absolutely. I'm thinking of, I'm going to do my, I guess, best experience was middle school, which sounds weird.
That's crazy. Yes.
But Miss Stella Thomas, was definitely an inspiration for me. She was the teacher that I could go to with issues and problems, or just talk, or just, bang the erasers, or just, get help in general. And she was an ELA teacher. So I think she's the one that kind of got me to fall in love. I always loved reading and things like that. But I think seeing her as the inspiration she was as an ELA teacher, I was like, I can do this, and I want to teach ELA. So she was just tremendous, and a tremendous influencer in my life. And then I'll have to also say Dr. Rodney Johnson, and my senior British lit teacher was
Ooh.
also like, I was like, okay, I can do, like, I can be him, I can do this. So yeah, I would say those two, whether they, I hope they know it, or knew it, were big inspirations in my life.
I two things here. I love that they were both ELA teachers because that is very similar to my story. I had two ELA teachers and one math teacher, believe it or not, teach me really that, like you said, I can do that. Watching them do that on a daily basis really taught me, because I would be, probably just like you so much, because I would pretend school too. And I loved learning and I loved doing workbooks, and it sounds super weird, but I would sit in class and watch my teachers. I would really tune in and hone in on who they were. How did they talk to students?
Yep.
What was their tone? What was their cadence? What did their facial expression look like? How did they deal with conflict with students, right? Like all of that. And I didn't actually realize it until you just started talking about it. And I realized I was really studying them
Yep.
because I wanted to be them.
Yep.
That is incredible. Well, kudos to you for having great middle school years, Dr. Desiree. I'm just going to say that the listeners probably do not feel the same way. The majority of people out there probably did not love middle school, but I love that you had a great experience. So, what I would love to know, because you said you never saw yourself presenting as much as you do, and you really never saw yourself supporting educators. You really wanted to make a difference in the kids' lives. And I think very similarly, I'm the same way. I really wanted to change kids' lives for the better. I really never saw myself as a presenter or even doing what I'm doing now. So, what are 1 to 2 key moments in your professional life that brought you to where you are today? And what is your favorite thing now about your work?
Oh, okay. So one big thing, I think when I first, like, the tide started turning, like, I can help adults, I can help teachers in my building, was actually my second year teaching. So after my first year teaching, I only wanted to teach seniors in high school. Like, I felt like those are the only ones that could handle my intelligence. I tell that story all the time. I was like, no one else can get me. So of course I ended up in a middle school, and throughout the first year, is boots on the ground learning, right? You just, so the second year, I was like, I want to help new teachers, like I was coming into this building, know how to get stuff, who to talk to for what, who to ask questions to. So I made a book. I made a booklet, and I'm like smiling because I just remember I was like, yes, I can do this. So I made a booklet of like who to go to for what, who to ask for what, all that kind of stuff. And I put it in this little booklet. It was like a new teacher hand booklet for our school. And I gave that to the new teachers, and they were so appreciative. And they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know, where even to start to get tape or, whatever. So thank you so much. And I just saw that it made a difference, right? In that teacher. And I started to connect. If I help the teacher, I'm actually helping the students. And I was like, wait, this is kind of cool, because then you're helping more students than just who's in your classroom. I was like, this, kind of set me on fire for helping teachers. And then I had student teachers, and I was like, oh, this is awesome too, because I'm helping them before they even get in the classroom. Sure. And I'm just loving this. So that kind of started my fascination with helping educators help students. And then I would say, like, the consultant part of it, I was tapped to be a teen librarian consultant. So that's when I was in the library. I was a librarian, a school librarian, and I got tapped because it was a small district right next to my district that didn't have a teen librarian. And they were like, hey, can you come and be our teen librarian as a consultant? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll do it for free. And they were like, no. And she's like, no, you need to go and like get your daily rate. And so she kind of helped me understand what a consultant was, and how to be a consultant, and how to know your value, and and I was like, okay. Like, I still to today thank Glenn Up Allen, because she she taught me that, you know, she's like, no, you don't give away anything. Like, no, that's not how you do things. Let me show you what to do. And that was honestly my first time consulting. And she kind of set that on fire. Oh, I can consult with different places and, you know, do the work and be valued. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. You don't have to grovel to make a difference. You can do both. So I think those are the two really big key moments. And my favorite thing about my work now is that I feel like I make a difference. I hope I make a difference. Like influencer and things like that is not why I do what I do.
Right.
But I do hope I make a difference in people's lives, and a real difference, not like surface level difference.
Sure.
So I think that's my favorite thing about my work now is I just, whenever I can feel like I make a difference, it means the world to me.
It goes back to that core motivation that you had as a student, right? Where you wanted to make a difference initially in the students' lives. And then you saw it on a larger level with educators, and then an even larger level with consulting. I think when we become teachers, a lot of times we don't realize the value that we bring. And that's a whole nother conversation that you and I could probably have. But I mean, it's true. I mean, I see it running through educators that I know today. They're selling themselves short. I love that you had a mentor. I think this is really very, very important. And I want to hit on this for our listeners. You had a mentor. I too had a mentor, Carl Hooker. I'll shout him out. He'll be at Community Week. So if you haven't signed up, make sure you do that. But Carl Hooker was my mentor. And I think it's interesting if you don't have a mentor, I've said this before, have someone that is mentoring you, and then you did this essentially, then you mentor someone else, right? So it's sort of like you're passing the baton, taking the baton from your mentor and passing it on to somebody else. And that is how we become great as an educator community. I think it's so important, because what that does is it affirms our value. And sometimes it's easy to forget the difference we're making, whether we are first year teachers, or like you and I, we're in a different space now. It can get to you sometimes not thinking that you make that difference. But I want to remind you something that I reminded you off air. You are making a difference. And I think that when you have a true motive to do that, it has nothing to do with the influence on social media or how many followers you have or how many likes. But I told you this before, people are watching what you post. They may not be interacting with it, liking it, commenting, but they're seeing it. And it really reminds them that they're not alone. And so I think my encouragement to you and to our listeners is to keep sharing. Keep sharing. I know it's exhausting. I know you do so much for the professional development community. That actually leads me to my next question. You offer so many opportunities. Like, can I just pause in this question and say, Dr. Desiree offers so many opportunities for you to partake in professional development. Like, I will be scrolling on social media, I will be checking my email, and I guarantee you, Dr. Desiree is offering you something that is going to benefit you. So I just want you to note that if you're not following her, she's going to tell you more about that later, but you need to. So you offer so many opportunities for these educators. And I want to know what keeps you motivated. Who are you learning from? What strategies keep you confident right now in this profession?
Ooh, that is a difficult question. Let's see. What keeps me motivated is thinking that I really am helping someone. Really, that's really what keeps me motivated, because it does get hard. You know, anything that you do, especially if you love it and you're passionate about it, it gets hard, and you're going to get that imposter syndrome, and you're going to get that little voice that says, you're doing all this work for nothing. Who cares? You know, like everybody's going to run into that, and just, you know, remembering that that's false, and remembering that may be the time where you just need to hang it up for that one day and take a break, then get back up and keep fighting. One of the things I posted when you asked, you know, what strategies keep me confident in the profession, I posted a truth of mine, and that is I started to struggle with, why am I still helping this system? Why am I still helping the education system when I'm starting to lose faith in it? I'm starting to lose faith that, why are we trying to go back to doing the same thing? One of the things I said during the pandemic is, if this doesn't change us, what in the world will, right? If it doesn't change us, we're going to implode. And then we just tried to go back to normal. And I was just like, we're going to implode. Like, I don't want it to come true, and I see that happening. We see people leaving the profession. I see it imploding. And I was just like, well, Desiree, are you part of the problem? Like, are you part of the problem of trying to support a system that's failing, that's trying to, are you part of the old system? That kind of thing. So I started asking myself some really hard questions. And the only thing that kept me going was thinking, you're not helping the system, you're helping the people in the system. So you're not helping the system itself, even though you kind of, I'm still struggling with that, right?
Yes.
But you're helping the people who are trying to change the system, boots on the ground, trying to change the system, trying to be more inclusive, trying to make sure that their students critically think, trying to make sure that they're creating a society that doesn't just continue the status quo. Like, they're boots on the ground trying to do it, and you're the support for them. So that's what kept me going. So when I think about, what strategies keep me confident in the profession, I think that's what it is. Trying to hold on to, who am I really trying to help? And then your third question, who do I learn from? Oh my goodness. Like, I would need about an hour to make out the list of people that I learn from. I almost put them in regions sometimes, like California crew, New York crew, the Southern crew. But there's so many people. I mean, you have, honestly, you, Tisha. I learned from you. I learned from Leticia Tutul. I learned from Nairi. I learned from Nicole. I learned from Matt Miller, Eric Kurtz. I learned from Monica Burns. I learned from, a whole bunch of newsletters that I get. Ken Shelton, Dee Lanier. I mean, it's so, like, I hate to even say anybody's name because I know I'm gonna miss like 5,000 other people. Sarah Kiefer. I mean, it's just so many people. Like, I'm just getting new names, like Tyler, like, they're all coming in my head.
I know, I'm imagining a little banner across your face.
I'm like, I just put a banner across the bottom of my screen so I can see this.
I know. Well, what we will do is, those you listed, we will pop those in the Wakelet collection of your podcast to make sure the people who don't know about those people that you just listed can go follow them. Because the truth is, like I said before, it's so important for us to have people around us that we're learning from, right? And it's a constant, it's a flow. It never should stop. And sometimes you and I may talk, about our favorite TV shows, but sometimes we may sit down and talk about inclusivity, or we may talk about how do we come together to support those that are in the system. I think it's so important, and I've said this so much the last couple of months, is that we need to be talking more, and we need to be listening more, and we need to be doing that on a constant basis. And that alone requires so much of our critical thinking brain, that this is why, Dr. Desiree, that you're tired. This is why I'm always encouraging you to take breaks, because, and our teachers as well. I mean, we're just constantly problem solving in order to make things better, because that's really the core of where we started, which I don't think we'll ever get away from. I've heard you say that multiple times, and I love that you keep saying it, because I think it's important even for our educators to remember, why am I here? Right? Because it's easy as an educator to have that imposter syndrome. I had that as an educator. I even had it just a couple of months ago during teacher appreciation, thinking, did I actually even help a student at all? And I taught for 21 years. Like, the fact that I would even have that thought is still keeping me in that imposter syndrome.
Right.
And I had a student actually post on Facebook and say, if you were my student and you saw me doing X, Y, and Z, it was because of Tisha Poncio. And you saw me doing X, Y, and Z, or ABC, it was because of this teacher. And that former student, who's now a teacher, did such a great job at kind of showcasing how her entire career was formed based on all these teachers. I love the post. It was probably one of the best posts. But yeah, imposter syndrome is it's a battle. And I think we need to remember that you all are making a difference out there. We all are, if we're getting up every day and we're remembering our why, which I know you are. You've threaded that into all of these questions. And I'm so thankful. I don't even know that you intended to do that. Now we're going to hit, because you've sort of hit a little bit on it.
Okay.
And I know we could probably stay here for a really long time on this question, but what are one or two of the biggest challenges you've encountered in the world of education or the world of ed tech?
I think it's more. I guess I'm gonna focus more on the world of ed tech,
Mhm.
because that's my kind of more recent world. Even though I do more than ed tech, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I think my challenges comes from more of being a female, being a Black female, and being a Black female from the South. Three things that are not always respected,
Yes.
just in the general landscape of everything.
Absolutely.
But then you put them all together, and sometimes you have to fight for that, respect. So being a woman in the ed tech space, I think one of the things I started to see was like in the ed tech space itself, this has started to change a little bit more. But when you go out of the ed tech space itself, it's not.
Right.
So when I always tell this story when I was an instructional technology supervisor, I've had people completely pass me up and go to the white male on my side and ask a question, and they were like, she's the supervisor, why are you asking me?
Right.
But they just completely dismissed that I would have any answers for them. And it's not because, and I kind of thought it through like, well, maybe it's because I'm like, no, he was newer than me. So no, it's not that. Like, like I'm trying to like pinpoint.
Trying to
Maybe
validate it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's no reason why they would have done that. So it's just, one of those things where being a female in this space is not, especially technology, is not always respected. And then being a Black female is more of a silenced, some people will take you on or hire you or put you on the committee to be a token versus to listen to your voice.
Ooh.
So that, you kind of have to take that and then change that. Once you kind of realize it's going on, go, okay, well, no, this is not about to happen. You're going to rue the day that you added me to your committee because I'm about to use my voice.
Yes.
So, that, and then being from the South is sometimes looked down upon. I've even had someone tell me, like, and it's so funny, people will say stuff to my face, I'm like, really? But tell me like, oh, I started not to come to your session because I saw that you were from Louisiana, but you surprised me, I'm so glad you were good. And I was like, thank you, like, question mark. I was like, there's many amazing presenters, I can list them right now, from Louisiana. I was like, okay, sweetheart. But it's almost like when I would hear things about being Black and they'll be like, but not you. I'm like, thank you, question mark. Like, you just talked about my entire race, but okay.
Yes.
So just like little stuff like that, so I think those are the biggest challenges that are kind of ongoing, and you kind of face them all the time in different types of situations and different types of ways, because it all doesn't present in the same way that I faced.
I'm so glad you hit on this, because I think anybody that's listening, whether you are male or female, I mean, honestly, you've either experienced it or you've watched it happen. And I think, I have experienced that as well. I actually had somebody in the last year and a half say to me, what would there even be for you to do in the educational technology space? And I literally, it's kind of like you said, like, do they even know what they're actually saying? And I was just flabbergasted. And I thought, oh, this is where we are. But it is a fight. And like I was saying earlier, we're exhausted because we're problem solving and we're really trying to support educators that are in the system, the people in the system. But then you add on that struggle, right? that the three struggles, like you said, you're absolutely right. Being from the South, there's a whole separate part to
Yeah.
being from the South, but it's a fight. And I think that's why a lot of us are exhausted. And I honestly commend all of our female ed tech women out there who are fighting and using their voice. Dr. Desiree, the truth is, I'm not sure that I even knew how to use my voice in those spaces until the last 4 or 5 years. And I hate saying that out loud, but I think that it's because of people like you and the people that you listed that you were learning from. The truth is, had I not had that PLN on Twitter, I'm not sure that I would have even felt empowered to use my voice. But I started using my voice and thinking, you're going to, like you said, you're going to invite me to the committee or you're going to have me here. I'm going to start using my voice. And a lot of times they don't like that, but we all should be able to use our voice at the table and use our expertise. And I just think we need to remember that. So if you're not following Dr. Desiree on social media, please do that now. I'm just going to remind you again. Dr. Desiree, where can they find you on social media?
So my strongest social media is Twitter. It's the one I use the most. And I'm at educator Alex, because they didn't give me enough spaces for educator Alexander. So that's the only one that's different is Twitter. It's at educator Alex, and all other social media is at educator Alexander. So I always say, if you remember educator Alexander, you can find me. You can just Google it. My website, educatoralexander.com, has all of my social media links on it. Link to my newsletter, link to my YouTube channel, which I'm really, really proud of.
Yes.
So, if you go to educatoralexander.com, you can find me on everything else.
All there. And we're going to put all of that in the show notes so that you don't have to go look for it. We're going to connect you to Dr. Desiree. Now, my last question, this is my last serious question. Then we're going to get into the fun questions, because I know our listeners, they've told me they love the rapid fire questions that I throw out to our guests. We'll get into that. But one more serious question, and that is, what's the best professional advice you've ever received that you would like to pass on to our listeners?
Oh, I've received so many. I think I'm going to focus on one that I tell people. It's not something that I was told, but it's something that I learned along the way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to, and if you've heard me on podcasts before, I'm sure you've heard this, but it's take your time and hurry up. Mm-hmm. So whatever you want to accomplish is going to take time. Anything that is serious, anything that, is worthy, is going to take time. So take your time, give yourself some grace. Understand that it's going to be a struggle uphill, but once you get there, it's going to be awesome. But also hurry up and get started. So stop putting it on the back burner. It's something that you really want to do, whether it's educational or not. Yes. It could be, I just want to knit a scarf. Then hurry up. Let's get started, right? I don't care what the goal is, but get started. Take that first step. Even if it's just sending the email to say, hey, I'm interested, or sending in the application just to see what happens. Hurry up and get started. You're never going to regret getting started. Like you're never going to have that regret. Now, you may regret when you're on level 2 and, you have 15 levels left, but you're never going to regret getting started. So take that first step now.
I love that advice.
That's what I would say. Take your time and hurry up.
I love it. It goes along with sort of my mindset, and it took me a while to get to this mindset, but I started using this yes and philosophy. And so when someone would ask me to do something like present, even if I felt super fearful and was only thinking of all the ways that it wouldn't work out, I started thinking, well, what if it does? What if it does work out? What if I say yes and? And I kept doing that, right? And that really pulls you out of that fear-based mentality. So like you said, even knitting a scarf, which that does actually scare me. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, Dr. Desiree.
You don't want my lopsided scarf, I'm sure. But I love the yes and, because and when you start thinking of it in, even if I don't like the experience, I can learn from it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you need to do something to say, I don't like that.
Because you have to know what you don't want, right? And how do you know that if you haven't said yes and? And I really have really embraced that probably in the last year. And I have I've even I've like unlearned that I have to do things with people, right? So like, yes, and I want to take myself on a weekend trip alone. Yes,
Yes.
and I'm going to go to the movies by myself. I love
Yes.
taking myself to breakfast,
Yep.
right? Because if
Yep.
you wait around for somebody to do it with you, you're probably not going to do that either.
Go do what you want to do. Life is too short.
Amen. All right. So now we're on to our rapid fire questions. And this first one's going to be really easy. I think I know what you're going to say, but I want you to tell me why when you say your answer. So we're going to be flying together and you have a choice. Are you taking a window seat or an aisle seat?
Aisle.
Why?
I like the extra leg room because I'm tall. Well, not tall, but tall. So I like that I can, unless people are passing down the aisle, I can just put my foot out. And I feel like the window seat, I'm like somebody's on this side and the windows. So I like my aisle seat.
It's so funny. I've not asked anybody this question so far, and I started thinking about my answer. Do you know that I always pick the window seat? And it is because the window makes me feel like I'm safe from all the people. So I'll like hug the window the whole time. It's so funny. I can like go in my little cocoon by the window and put on my hoodie. I just love people's reasoning, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't met anybody that would pick a middle seat, but I do think there are some of you out there.
Oh
I would love to know why. Okay, this one's a little bit harder.
Okay.
If you had an alias, what would your name be?
Veronica.
Ooh, Veronica. I like that name. It reminds me of the is it Archie? Is that the yeah. I used to love that name when I was younger. That's a good one. Okay, this one is just for you too. All these questions are actually for Dr. Desiree. So if you're going to go back in the podcast, try to find these questions for other people, I really tailored them to you. So you only get to watch one TV show for the rest of your life. Only one, Dr. Desiree. Which one is it?
Oh my gosh. What? Okay. I'm not even going to pick my favorite TV show of all time. I'm not even going to pick that. I think I'm hard. I love TV, y'all. Like, you don't understand. So this is a hard question. So I'm going to say, just because this is kind of the TV show that I can put on at any time and have in the background, it doesn't like, and that's going to be Family Guy.
Oh my gosh.
I even be admitting this. But yeah,
I never would have guessed that.
And that's not even my favorite TV show.
I know.
It's just one of those that I can always put on. But I have my go-to TV show. So it'll be like Family Guy, Friends. It's my ultimate favorite TV show of all time. Schitt's Creek, Big Bang Theory. Like, those are shows that I can literally put on at any time and giggle while I'm doing other stuff. Because
it doesn't get old, right? That's the goal, for it to not be old and to make you laugh. I always, it's very, I think we have to be intentional. You and I talked before we hit record on some of the things that we watch that are not happy. And I think I have to be intentional with myself and say, okay, today we're going to watch comedy because you need to laugh more. Okay. I am really intrigued by this one. Again, nobody has gotten any of these questions, so I'm so excited about all of them. You got a tailored list, Dr. Desiree.
Okay.
All right. So your life music playlist. What are 3 songs that would definitely be on this list?
My life playlist.
Yes.
I don't know. There's definitely R&B on there because that's like my favorite genre. So I'm gonna put Boys to Men.
Yes,
they're like, I mean, they're freaking Boys to Men. I don't know what song. Motown Philly, just because it's fast and happy.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm making it. I don't know what I'm doing.
I knew you would say Boys to Men. I wish I had put some money down on that.
Boys to Men is gonna be like the Temptations. Boys, they're gonna be on there. I'm gonna pick I actually like country music, so I'm gonna pick Carrie Underwood. I love me some Carrie Underwood. Or maybe I should pick Reba. I don't know. This is hard. This is like a 2-hour
2-hour podcast
on this one question. I'm gonna pick Carrie Underwood. something in the water.
Mm.
So I'll pick that, and then I'll pick. I don't know. I'm like looking around for inspiration.
I'm thinking like you got probably another Boyz II Men song on there.
I'm gonna put Tevin Campbell.
Oh,
Tell Me What You Want Me to Do. That's one of my absolute favorite songs from my middle school life.
I love it. I love it. I would have got, I almost was guaranteed Boyz II Men will be on there because we talked.
Oh,
Boyz II
they're
Men
going to be on.
before.
I could have wore their t-shirt. Like they're
Yes,
going to be.
yes. I will tell you, my daughter loves jamming out to Boyz II Men. We do that pretty regularly when we're in the Walmart parking lot. And the other day we were jamming out to On Bended Knee, which is my all-time favorite song. At their concert, they actually threw a rose to me during the song, and I was on the Jumbotron, right?
Yeah,
and I will tell you,
my friend, she went up and get it. I was like, "You go get it. I'm good."
Yes. Oh my gosh, Boyz II Men, that was so much fun. And honestly,
I'm right there with me.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, we should go to a Boyz II Men concert together.
Oh my gosh,
I think we should plan that.
Just tell me the date and the time. I'm there.
Love it. I love it. I am so thankful that you joined me today, Dr. Rosemary. I've wanted to do this for so long. Now, what I would love for you to do, you've already told everyone where they can find you on social media, but where can they find you or see you in person next presenting?
So next will be, Louisiana is having a teacher leader summit. So that will be next week. So next will be the Louisiana Teacher Leader Summit. And then I think the next like in person will be ISTE.
Okay.
So I will absolutely be at ISTE. It's in New Orleans. So y'all come out to NOLA. And of course, it's going to be like half virtual, half live. So definitely make sure that you get to ISTE. So I think that is my next in person besides the Louisiana specific one.
And we are going to find each other so we can get a selfie and talk Boyz II Men.
Yeah, because then we found each other at TCCA.
Yes.
We just forgot to get a picture.
I'm trying to be better, about the selfies. I have to have my camera ready at all times because there are so many people that I want to capture. I haven't met some of these people in person ever. And right. We didn't expect that we wouldn't see each other for so long. So I definitely want to take advantage of that. I also would love for you to send me, and if you'll send it to me, we'll put it on your podcast notes, some of the best places in NOLA to eat. What should we for sure eat? I have an idea of what you're going to tell me. Cafe Du Monde, probably with coffee. And I'm thinking it's 108 degrees in July. Louisiana. There's no way I can drink coffee, but send me your recommendations. We would love to add that below our notes as well. And is there any last parting words that you want to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, first with the places to eat, I'm not in NOLA, but half of my family is all from NOLA, so I can ask them for some recommendations.
Okay.
Because I tell people, I'm like, I don't know. I'll be like, McDonald's? Like, no, that's not what we're looking for, sweetheart. But any parting words, just give yourself grace. I know that so many educators, I've heard that this was a harder year than even the year when we were in the full-blown pandemic, just because it was so not, like no one knew, like it's just, you were trying to get over, and we're still dealing with so much trauma that we're ignoring. It was a rough year. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to next year, just kind of like, just please let's restart, please let's start fresh. So give yourself grace. I know it's so much easier said than done. I know you're probably tired of hearing people say it, right? To give yourself grace, because this is not an easy thing to do, but I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying self-care, and I'm going to keep saying those things, even if you're tired of hearing it, because if you're tired of hearing it, that means you're probably not doing it.
Yes.
So I'm going to keep saying it to your face to take care of yourself and to give yourself some grace, because this is the only life you get. Like, this is it. This one. So, I've started realizing we can't keep waiting. Like, we can't keep saying, oh, I'm just waiting for this week to be over. I'm just waiting till this week to be over. Right. You're wasting weeks of your life, and you don't realize it. So we can't just keep saying, I'm just waiting for this year to be over. You're wasting a whole year of your life. So we gotta give ourselves some grace and start living our life.
I love that. That is such a great note to end on. It's absolutely true. And I love what you said. If you are tired of hearing it, it's probably because you need to hear it, right? So give yourselves grace. Remember to follow Dr. Desiree. We will have everything in the show notes so you can connect with her and partake in her wonderful PD. Remember to follow all of the Wakelet social media channels at Wakelet on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Some of us are over on TikTok as well. Find us there and check out this episode, all the other previous episodes, and any future episodes of the Wakelet podcast at www.wakelet.com/@the Wakelet podcast. And we will see you next time. Bye.